Imagine for a moment you've decided to climb Mount Everest. It's a daunting challenge, and the very best training, research, and gear will only get you so far. To get to the summit, you'll need the most experienced of guides. You'll need a Sherpa. To a commercial property owner with a CMBS loan, attempting a restructure or assumption can be a Mount Everest-sized challenge, a seemingly insurmountable feat. That is, unless you have a Sherpa. I'm here with Ann Hambling, co-CEO of First Service Solutions, a company she founded in 2005 as the very first borrower advocate for commercial mortgage-backed securities. Ann, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, in a very real way, you and your team do serve as a kind of Sherpa for borrowers trying to navigate their way through restructures and assumptions of their CMBS debt. Now, I understand that a CMBS loan is very different than a regular bank loan, which is why it's so crucial to have a guide during this process. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's when a borrower goes to his local bank and he gets a loan, right, and the banker decides to keep that loan on the balance sheet, then the borrower can always go into his banker and have a conversation like we're having right now, and presumably the two of them can arrive at some sort of reasonable outcome for a problem property, right?
Sure.
But if the loan is securitized, all of a sudden that banker is not involved anymore, for the most part. So there's all kinds of behind-the-scenes parties that now weigh in on this borrower's decision, and he never even knew those people existed. So there's a special servicer, a controlling class representative, and there's all kinds of new rules that he has to follow that he never knew existed. So it's very daunting. And for a lot of these borrowers, they've never defaulted before. They've been a good borrower, been paying their loan, and so they don't exactly know what to do when the property is not performing and their banker's not there anymore.
Yeah, the CMBS loan, the reach extends all the way to Wall Street, and a lot of people involved now with that.
That's right.
And that is where First Service obviously can provide value. It is a statement of fact that First Service Solutions has completed more restructures and assumptions than any other firm. That is indisputable. There's really no one out there who's better prepared to be that Sherpa for borrowers. Because you have worked with every CMBS special servicer on all property types, you've explored virtually every route and identified every imaginable hazard along the way, right?
Oh, pretty much. I'm sure there's days where we think we've found something new.
Sure.
But for the most part, it's kind of a living, breathing thing. So what worked, a month ago doesn't work this month, and so you really have to stay up and be current with the servicers. And my whole career has been with the servicers. I've been the CEO of a lot of the large servicing shops, so I've been there, done it. I know exactly how they operate, and so all that factors in.
You've been on all sides of this issue with the loans. Let's talk a little bit about your team. As the founder of the company, you were the CEO of a number of the industry's largest servicers, as you've said, and a leader of servicing trade associations. Clearly, you have a rare set of skills and experience that make you uniquely qualified to help borrowers. But you've also surrounded yourself with some pretty talented people, too. What makes the First Service team more qualified than others to guide borrowers to that summit, if you will?
Well, I think to be a Sherpa and to be a good borrower advocate, you must have spent time in the special servicing shops. You must have restructured a loan on the other side of the equation. So all of our team comes from the special servicing shops. They've spent their time in these roles on the other side, if you will. And so we've all been there, done that, and that's the key. That we're not learning this on the job. Yeah.
Okay. Clearly, you and your team have the specific industry expertise and the experience and the contacts to negotiate the best possible outcomes, which is what everybody's looking for here. What impresses me is that special servicers actually refer borrowers to your firm because they know that you fully understand their business and add value to the entire process. That in itself just speaks volumes. And now you founded First Service back in 2005, and while yours was the very first firm dedicated to helping CMBS borrowers, other firms quickly scrambled when the market collapsed to become a borrower advocate, a role you literally created. A number of these began in commercial finance, and they opportunistically shifted into restructures. So doesn't it make sense that they would go back to their core businesses when the market shifts again?
I sure think so. So my whole background has all been in the servicing shops, as you have stated very clearly. And so when I created this role in 2005, I didn't even know what to call it. I just saw what owners went through and thought somebody needs to level the playing field and help these owners. So created the firm. I was the only firm in the space for probably a good year, year and a half, 2 years. That's because there were no restructures back then. Then restructures started creeping up in about 2008, and all of a sudden the people who couldn't originate loans anymore or securitize them hopped into this space and now became a borrower advocate. Well, they've never necessarily been in the special servicing shop. So I got to believe that when the market heats up again and securitizations and originations start happening at a fast and furious pace, they'll all go back to, their core root job, but I'll still be a borrower advocate. Yeah.
Something about the phrase imitation being a sincerest form of flattery seems to apply here. They saw where you were going, they saw where the action was, and they got in there quickly, but not with the experience that you have. Okay, big question here. When is the best time for a borrower to contact you for help?
The sooner the better. If I'm going to contemplate climbing Mount Everest, I would be best served to call a Sherpa today and get instructions on what to do before I make that first step on the mountain, right? So the sooner the better. As soon as you know there's a problem or you're going to contemplate climbing Mount Everest, call for help.
Okay. Ann Hambly, co-CEO of First Service Solutions, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, if you're considering a CMBS restructure or assumption, don't climb that mountain alone. Partner with the first, the largest, the most uniquely qualified borrower advocate, First Service Solutions. They're here to listen. They're here to help. Contact them today.